Hello there. This is Steve Barnes here with Life Writing Live. Just doing a little pop-up today, still testing the new technology, still playing around with the new things. So I'm actually using 3 different types of software to create this today. So please, as I've said before, bear with me. We were trying to find ways to be of greater and greater service to you and be able to help out more and more, but it is a challenge. So like right now, I'm using a streaming service to send this to YouTube, to several different Facebook pages. So I'm going to take a look and see what's happening over on Facebook. Yes, 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 there you are. There I am. So I will be able to answer some questions, hopefully. And what I wanted to do today was, once again, while testing all of this, to look into the interaction of several things that I'm playing around with in order to help my son Jason. And I also wanted to relate this to some of the current events that are going on. So let me take a look over and see whether or not there are any comments here. People just kind of saying hello. This is great, and greetings. Hi there. Oh, everyone. And so here's the thing, and I will check back over at the comments from time to time. But once again, I'm just juggling several things, so please bear with me. So I keep trying to take a series of complex concepts and boil them down. Oh, let me adjust the lights here. Does that light look a little bit better? Oh yeah, it does look just a little bit better. Um, I'm trying to boil down a tremendous number of complex concepts into the smallest number of things for Jason to remember. The human mind can juggle 7 ± 2 pieces of information at a time on average. So I really want to keep this as simple as possible. But there's also, life is complex. So I need to be certain that I'm actually giving him the information that he needs. And that in order to make this work, I have to test it on myself. So one of the things that I'm going to be pulling this apart and and looking at the individual pieces of it. There's a definition of leadership that's very interesting that I came across recently in connection with something called human needs technology, created by a lady named Chloe Madonis and in partnership with Tony Robbins, actually. Um, and they said that leadership starts with the circle of who you are. It's the can you change your own behavior? Uh, then the next level, second level leadership, is can you change the behavior of one other person, whether it's in a one-on-one interaction. The next thing is, can you change the behavior of a group, a class, a crowd, a lecture hall. But fourth level leadership is you are not just changing their behavior, but you are inspiring them to, in turn, go out and lead. And that is what I want for my son, because I can feel that he has what it takes to be a leader within him. And I want to respect that. I want to give him the tools that are necessary for him to become a leader. But there are several intermediate steps along the way to being a leader, including having accomplishments that will attract people and convince them that you have the stuff that they're looking for. So what are the tools that are most important? And I created a little sign here. And right now, at this moment, I'm saying that the tools are the 3 gates, the 3 centers, the hero's journey, and the morning ritual. Now, the 3 gates are Sufi, they're from Islam, and they are basically the questions that you ask yourself that relate to behaviors. Is it true? Is it kind? Is it useful? Sometimes is it necessary? Okay, but we'll say useful, because if it's necessary, if it has to be necessary, that's virtually being a silent monk, because very few words are actually necessary. But they're often useful. That if you say it, it can actually change things for the better. So I will say useful. So true, kind, and useful. Now, by a happy coincidence, and probably in this world there aren't really any coincidences, that maps over with the 3 centers. 3 centers, right? The 3 centers are the belly, brain, the heart center, and the head center. And if you take a look at this, if the head center is it necessary? Because that's the evaluation of whether or not an action is efficient and effective. So it says necessary here, but I'm kind of saying useful. The heart center, is it kind? The heart center is the center for emotion. So that's the perfect place to ask, is this coming from love or fear? And the belly brain, is it true? The belly brain is the place that you go to for instinct, that intuitive sense of, is this real or is it not? Is this true or is it false? As long as it is a simple question like that, the belly brain will answer. And one of the things that you want to do is to calibrate, to learn how to recognize the voices in your head or the feelings in your gut when something is right or wrong. And the only way you do that is by testing it in the real world. Otherwise, you get lost in the world of your head. You're up in the head all the time. You've got all kinds of theories about the way the world works, but you have no examples of the way the world works. There are groups of people who fall into this. Let's just say that one of those groups are incels. People who have a theory about the way male-female relationships work, but they haven't grounded it in anything. So they can hallucinate that they understand. Now, another thing from human needs technology, human needs psychology, is the notion that we are angry, we are upset to the degree that our circumstances don't match our map of reality. The map that we have, this is the way the world is supposed to be, but this is the way the world is for me. So incels, for instance, believe that they are, the Ubermenches. They believe that women should be falling all over them to get their, precious bodily fluids. And when women don't do that, they're very upset and they feel like something is wrong in the world. Well, something is wrong, but they're not taking responsibility. So here's another thought. If you don't think you're part of the problem, you can't be part of the answer. Okay. So let's see. I think there was a comment over here that I wanted to. Okay, konnichiwa, Shilimbe said, and konnichiwa. So let's see. Where was I? So the notion is that so we covered the three gates, the three centers which relate to the three gates. That's powerful right there. It really is. I suspect that I could do an entire week-long, 8-hour-a-day workshop just on those two things. But in order to try to communicate these, I think that it is useful because they're still conceptual. So there's one more concept, and then I want to connect them with the earth. So the other concept is the hero's journey. That is what I believe to be the sum of the world's elders telling the younger generations, this is what your life is. In other words, you will be confronted with challenges. They will cause fear. You will reject the challenges due to that, but you will eventually have to accept the challenge. And the most important challenge is the challenge of what's called adulting. Now, adulting, according to Milton Erickson, is basically the process of gaining physical mastery, emotional mastery, learning how to produce, learning how to fall in love, have ethical sexual relationships, to build a nest. It doesn't matter whether or not you want to have kids, you need to have the resources that if you did have kids, they would be safe. If you don't do that, then another adult will not be attracted to you. In fact, what I'm kind of suggesting is that sex is an adult game. You shouldn't be having sex if you could not create a nest to protect those children, were children to result from your activities, whether you intend to have children or not. And that is a core piece of the soulmate process. Simply developing your power, your ability to do things in the world. That by itself is just huge. It's huge. So the hero's journey then says that once you've accepted responsibility, let's say for being an adult, you set out along the road of trials during which you meet allies and gain powers. You'll have your initial confrontation with evil, in which you are defeated. You will enter into the dark night of the soul. That's the moment when it feels like nothing you have or do is sufficient to the cause. The way through the dark night of the soul is the leap of faith. And if you have met those challenges, then you will confront evil again. This time you'll be victorious. And the last step is the movement to the higher level, or the student becomes the teacher. Your responsibility to be a leader, to lead those who are younger than you along the path. Your teachers help you, you help others. It's a human chain. That's humanity. And one of the beautiful things about human beings, when it's hot, unfortunately, my office is unfinished, even though I'm running the air conditioner, it can get a little warm out here. So I freeze one of these water bottles every night and then drink from it all day while the ice is melting in it. Um, what every young man wants to know is, what is it going to take for me to, have money? What is it going to take for me to have, master my emotions? What is it going to take for me to have ethical sexual relationships with a woman I can relish? I know that those are the questions in Jason's mind, so I'm not going to pretend that they're not. What I'm going to do, what I want to do is use those desires to motivate him to be the best person he can be. Like pretty much being what I wish my father had done for me. I also know that he will reject a lot of what I'm saying, but he will watch what I'm doing. He'll watch what I'm doing. And if I do it, if I can keep my emotional control when he loses his, if I can keep going when I get discouraged, when I can create services, goods, I create things in the world. Power is the ability to create in the world. It's not potential. Potential energy is potential energy. Potential power is potential power. The question is, can you do it? Can you do it? So what I want to do is to help him to the other side of this. And it just so happens that, remember what I was saying about power, about leadership, that the first step is being able to produce these effects for yourself. The next step is being able to do it for one other person. And then it's for a room full of people. And that what you want is to be able to inspire them to go out and do the same thing. So if you look at that in terms of the hero's journey, you are inspiring them to complete their journey and to begin a new journey, the journey of being an adult. And one of the responsibilities of an adult is to help children grow. And we're all children in some way. So if you know that I do care a lot about teaching, I'm not trying to infantilize people. Every single person listening to this, this Richard Gerard. Hey, Richard. Every person listening to this is my superior in some way. There's something that you do or know or am that is better than what I am. And the flip side of that is I'm superior to each of you in some way, because I have spent so much time being me, and the me that I am has very specific skills. So there's going to be something I trump you at. There's going to be something you trump me at. That's just the way it is. So we can deal with each other from a position of equality. We have something to offer each other. And on these gatherings that I'm trying to do every Wednesday at 6:00, this is the game that we're playing. So in order to take these things, going back over them again, the 3 gates, 3 sinners, the hero's journey. Oh, there's a nice reflection there. I'm going to move that over. And it's the morning ritual. Now, I talk about the morning ritual, and the first aspect of the morning ritual is just to breathe. So, just take a moment here and let's just breathe. Deep, slow, diaphragmatic belly breaths. So let's just take 60 seconds and breathe. And one more. Okay, that feels good. It's been a stressful day, so I don't know about you, but I could really use that. Um, so that's the beginning. 5 times a day, once an hour, every 1 to 3 hours, you take 60 seconds of deep, slow, diaphragmatic belly breath. Now that grows into a morning ritual by taking one of those, probably the first of them, maybe at 7:00 in the morning when you wake up, whatever, and beginning to expand it outwards into a morning ritual. What this does is a morning ritual is a period of time, generally between 10 minutes and 20 minutes, where you are moving, chanting affirmations, and focusing your emotions all at the same time. All at the same time. And we can go more deeply into that at another time, but what I can tell you is that it works like magic. once you learn the secret of it, you will never give it up. It's just incredibly powerful stuff. So somebody said, I miss your Tai Chi class in the morning in the WestCon. Those were the best, just to have a moment to breathe during the sometimes overwhelming experience those events can be. Julie Watzko said that, Julie, I wish I could be there with you right now. It would, and Carol, hi, hello. But if you just will breathe and imagine me there reminding you to sync your breathing, take that time for yourself. If you will do that every day, it will have a massive effect in your life. You could chant Nam Myoho Renge Kyo, that if that has meaning for you, but the most important thing is to chant affirmations that have meaning. In other words, that represent the skills that and capacities that you will need along the path of your life. For instance, I might say every day in every way, I'm getting better and better. I've used that since I was a child. It has meaning to me. I can feel it when I say it. And I will move my body and hold my face and change my voice until I can feel it, until I can find some part of myself that believes in me. Now, if I consider that doing the morning ritual itself is a powerful thing, then just by doing the ritual, I am proving that I'm actually improving myself. This is another day that I'm doing it. See what I'm saying? So there's an expression, Tananarive will say to throw your hat over the fence. If you don't believe you can do something, you still act as if you can do it. So other people call that fake it till you make it. It's okay. I think you know perfectly well that if you acted as if you were depressed or angry or whatever, it would change your mood. If you hunched your shoulders, screwed up your face, and said nasty things about yourself, it would change your mood. You could talk yourself into a bad mood. In the same way, you can talk yourself into a good mood. You can take a walk in nature or take a walk around the track, shift your body. There are 3 things that you do that you need to do in order to control your emotions. You change your physiology, you change your focus, or you change your language. And the morning ritual changes all 3 of those at the same time. So it's really, really powerful stuff. So those are the 4 things that I want to give him. And I figure that I've got to find a way to give it to him this summer. That he will never have the same degree of imprintability and independence that he has right now. He will be more and more independent going forward. And so he's a young man now. He's not a big kid. He's a young man. I've got to shift the rules. I've got to get him to take more responsibility for himself. But the flip side of that is, once again, if I want to lead him to that place, I have to be in that place myself, okay? That I have to find the things I want Jason to change and to see how those things reflect themselves in growth I need for me. That if I do that, then I'm not asking him to do something I'm not doing. Maybe he'll listen to my words, but if he doesn't listen to my words, but looks at my behaviors, I'm still ahead of the game and I'm still helping him. If I do that, then I'm becoming more of a leader, and I can take these same things and I can give them to groups of people. You will notice me testing these things on Facebook. I test these things on Facebook. Can I affect a group culture by talking about the 3 gates? Is it true? Is it useful? Is it kind? Can I do it by talking about the 3 centers, the belly brain, the heart center, the head center? Can I do this? And it looks to me like the more congruent I am, the more honest I am, the more I share my heart with you as honestly as possible, it does seem to be possible to actually make that connection. So I'm going to assume that it is. I'm going to assume that if I am as honest as I can possibly be with you, that you will respond by opening your heart to me. So one of the things I want to do is I look around on Facebook and I take a look at comments that people make, and I wanted to make some comments about those. So one of the things that I've been seeing, on Facebook, ice water. Oh God, is there anything better than ice water when you are thirsty? I don't know what it is. So I've been seeing in connection with some of the current events, there was a gentleman named Floyd who whose death has triggered the protests that we see. And what we're seeing is people demonizing Floyd in order to defend the cop. Now, it's very interesting the way they're doing this. They're talking about his past behavior as if his past behavior makes killing him in slow motion more acceptable. Does it make it more acceptable? Well, once you have granted that killing anyone in slow motion is acceptable, I suppose that does. But I wanted to interrogate that question just a little bit more. Just a little bit more. I think that it's a poison pin conversation. It is neither true, nor useful, nor kind. So it blows all three gates. So what I wanted to say about that tactic, and that's exactly what it is a tactic, is there's something that I'm calling conditional humanity. It's the circumstances under which you will grant other people their personhood. Okay? In other words, if you play the rules by this game, this game, this game, I will admit that you're human and I will give you whatever services and rights and privileges are accrued to an actual human being. Otherwise, you're not a human being. Now, what's interesting about this, like I said, it's a poison pill. The Sufis, once again, going with the three gates, the Sufis say that the beginning of human evil is to treat human beings as means rather than ends, to treat them as objects rather than subjects. That what you just heard when somebody does that, when somebody starts talking about, well, I did this unbelievably cruel and nasty thing, or this unbelievably cruel and nasty thing was done because this person misbehaved. They are saying that they have the power to decide who is and is not human. Now, once they say that, now they may say that that's a matter of behavior, but they're just saying that your humanity can be taken from you, and I know how to do it, and I will do it. And I'm asking you to consider that once someone has told you that that's the kind of person they are, they're going to do that in other ways. What they're not telling you is that there are other circumstances under which they will also exclude you from the pool of being human. Now, are those circumstances political? Are those circumstances philosophical? Does it depend upon what religion you're a part of? Could it possibly have something to do with your skin color? Once you go down that road, once you grant to them, once you engage with them about whether this or that behavior legitimately denies humanity to someone, you swallow the poison pill. As I said, it's very much like that conversation about, well, would you sleep with me for $1 million? Would you sleep with me for $10 million? Well, yeah, for $10 million. Well, then will you sleep with me for $10? No, of course not. And what are you calling me? Whore? Well, we've already established that. Now we're just haggling over the price. Once you say that there is some level of criminality or bad behavior that excludes someone from the pool of humanity, you're just haggling over the price. It's not that you cannot defend yourself. It's not that you cannot arrest people, punish people. If you believe in the death penalty, and I do not, it doesn't even mean that that person could not be executed. And it certainly doesn't mean that if that person attacked you, you don't have the right to defend yourself with lethal force if necessary. But when you discount somebody else's humanity, if you believe, as I do, that we are actually all connected, that our humanity is not something that can be taken away from us, it's not something that is provisional, that you are me, I am you. If you believe that, then reduction of someone else's humanity simply reduces your own. That's all you've done. All you've done is you have diminished all of humanity by doing this, especially from your perspective, from your position in the world. So a person who does this, who bargains about whether or not a human being is worthy of being treated with full humanity, they are allying themselves with every monster who has ever said that your religion, your appearance, your race, your culture, your nationality diminishes my need to treat you as a human being. Once they have said to you, admitted to you that that's the team that they're on, pay attention, notice it. When somebody tells you something good about themselves, question it. But if they tell you something bad about themselves, believe it. Well, until you've had a chance to interrogate it. All right. So let's see. Somebody said, not all human beings are capable of rational thought. It is painful to have parents or relatives or coworkers like them. To me, this comment misses the reality. Almost everyone with normal neurology is capable of rational thought. But powerful emotions shut down our logic centers. By the way, the last thing, was it true? Was it useful? Was it kind? I want you to apply that standard to the things that I'm saying. And if it doesn't pass those three gates, reject it, please. At least 2 out of the 3. I mean, there are things that are not true, but are useful and kind. Santa Claus. Oops, I'm sorry if there was somebody out there who still believed in Santa Claus. Sorry. But preferably all 3 when you're dealing with an adult: honest, useful, and kind. So let's move on to the next example. Not all human beings are capable of rational thought, a reader said. It is painful to have parents or relatives or coworkers like them. So let's interrogate that. Is it true that not all human beings are capable of rational thought? That would be true. Those people are going to be in asylums. They're not going to survive without a tremendous amount of assistance. Most of the people who we think are not capable of rational thought are people who are coming from powerful emotions or are disagreeing with us. How could they possibly think that? That makes no sense. But it misses something. You and I are primarily emotional creatures. We are. We're primarily emotional. And we use logic to justify the actions that we take. When we are highly emotionalized, the logic centers shut down and we start reacting primarily from emotion, even though our tendency is often to hallucinate and think that we're still being logical. So this is where you get people doing this. I don't understand why people are so emotional. How come people can't be logical like me? It's so sad to watch that they're coming from emotion and criticizing other people's emotions, and you've got these 2 emotional shells bouncing off against each other, and nothing is being accomplished. Okay, so it's funny if it weren't so tragic, or tragic if it weren't so funny, one way or the other, but it's non-optimal. It is not true that there are just scads of people out there who are not logical, are not capable of logic. It's simply not true. And it's not a useful perspective, because most of the time when you have that perspective, you yourself are highly emotionalized. So once again, this is one of the reasons why, I say every hour, every 1 to 3 hours, stop, take a deep breath, calm your hindbrain, calm your reticular activating mechanism, calm your amygdala, move back into your forebrain, turn off the monkey mind, come from a place of calm and compassion. The more stressful situations are, the more critical it is for you to be calm, for you to be surgical in your actions. Every boxer knows if they can make the other boxer upset, they lose some of their skill, and they create holes, openings that they can be exploited. So your political opponents will try to upset you, because when you're upset, you can't see the game, you can't plan, you can't act. In relationships, that often happens too. If you're upset, you'll miss the little details. Watch Columbo. Columbo is a great example of someone who is tactically, just one more thing, who is tactically irritating. He will deliberately interrupt your flows of thought. He will deliberately interrupt what it is that you're doing. He will deliberately act as if he's soliciting your advice when you and he both know he's actually accusing you. He's trying to get you upset, because if you're guilty, then you're going to be afraid that you're going to be being questioned by this guy. And if you are afraid, then you're going to get angry. Okay, that is his theory. That is, his basic tactic of getting you to reveal your truth, get you upset, get you off your game, get you out of logic, get you defensive, get you emotional. The world is like that. And what you really have to do is be careful to not allow the circumstances of your life to push you into emotional upset, when what's needed is logic. And one of the things that you need in logic is to observe that human beings stop using logic when they get highly emotionalized. So when you're trying to change someone's mind about something and you say, how come people can't change their minds? You use logic and they didn't change their mind. It's because you were so emotionalized, so emotionally invested, that you didn't see that you needed to calm their emotions before you could access their logic. You had to calm your own emotions to access your logic, to see that you had to calm their emotions so they could access their logic. As long as it's your emotionalism connecting with and bouncing off of their emotionalism, you ain't getting nowhere, buddy. That's just the way it is. So let's take a look. Let's see. I had some questions, but I don't want this to go on too long. I just wanted to remind you, this is why, that last question especially, the need, if you want to communicate with people, you can't be pissed off at them while you're trying to communicate with them. You have to calm yourself so that you can see that you can calm them so you can access their minds. How do you calm people? When they're angry, they are actually afraid. What is making them afraid? This is what you need to look at. It could be a challenge to their ego, their self-image, their worldview. When people are afraid, they run or fight or freeze. If you don't want them to run or fight or freeze, you have to respect them enough for them to feel that they are not under threat from you, that they have nothing to fear from you. The only way for you to do that is to come to them with genuine respect, to start by looking for something about them that you can respect. You can respect something, even if it's just their passion, even if it's just the energy with which they are wrong. Respect something so that they can, I always figure that people on some level can read your mind. Start with that. Give them that respect. Then their fear will begin to diminish. And the two of you just maybe could have a conversation. So that's all I wanted to say today. I'm so glad that you were with me. It's wonderful to be here. And I guess I wanted to close today's talk with, as I often do, the Sanskrit expression that is, connects to this whole thing about the three gates. Is it true, useful, and kind that the divinity within me salutes and acknowledges the divinity within each and every one of you? Namaste. Have a wonderful, wonderful day. And I'll see you next week at this time.